It's 3 a.m. So it's been 3 days since I slept properly, and I've been overthinking a lot during the night. Every time I'm feeling extremely anxious. Obviously I'm still young, so maybe it's normal, but still it's kind of haunting me at this point. Like, what is my purpose? What am I doing here? Am I doing things the right way? So I sort of go off on a tangent, and it usually stumbles back to a very simple question, which is, what the dog doing? And I can't stay silent anymore. And so I feel like it's kind of my duty, having this very important platform to tell everyone why I think what the dog doing is a very important meme. The impact it has left on our minds, in our society, is just undeniable. And I would even say that it's so much more than just a simple meme or just a sentence, because it's a movement. So before we dive into this very, very important video essay, here's a word from our sponsor. Today's sponsor is my YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Now let's begin the presentation. You may have already heard the audio that I'm talking about, but I'm still gonna play it for you, just for you to remember.
Hey, let me get a minute. Hey, let me get one too. Hey, let me hold one.
Yeah, you get that right there. What the dog doing?
It's a manly voice, sounding caring, kind, and very loving. Clearly, this person really seems to care about their dog, but not in an aggressive or worried way, more like a kind, gentle, caring, yet firm way. Noam Chomsky, who is a linguist, a philosopher, and a cognitive scientist, says that, quote, "Human language appears to be a unique phenomenon without significant analog in the animal world. Human beings are able to express thoughts and feelings with language, and eventually they can reveal things about themselves through the tone." And so language was the thing that helped us the most transition from being animals and into building society. So language is what defines us as humans. And so hearing a human being with a fully developed brain speak and say the words, "What the dog doing?" that in itself is a very, very powerful thing. Like, it's the beauty of nature. No one is really able to explain how a human being is able to talk. We don't know exactly how our brains learn how to express ourselves. In late 1930, for example, a baby chimpanzee was raised as though she were a human child by two scientists, Luella and Winthrop Kellogg, alongside their infant son, aside from being one of the weirdest experiments ever recorded in human history. It confirmed quite a few things about the human language. The baby chimpanzee was better at moving around, being independent, and things like that. However, it seems like at some time during childhood, something happens in our brain and we suddenly gain consciousness. And we start talking, and that's when we develop a proper language. And it turned out, even though the baby chimpanzee was raised exactly like a human, it never started talking or even seemed like it understood the human language. And so many people link human language, which is like articulating your ideas and thoughts and making sentences, they link that with human consciousness. It's not that language grows out of consciousness. If you haven't got language, you can't be conscious. So when René Descartes wrote in his book Le Discours de la Méthode in 1637 the famous quote, "Cogito ergo sum," which means "I think, therefore I am," he implies that when we use language, even in our own head, it means that we have consciousness. It's the only thing that makes us different from other animals. So when a human being asks, "What the dog doing?" it's very powerful, because it means that someone who has a consciousness and who is able to communicate with language is caring about a dog, and not just any dog, it's the dog. Dogs are often said to be the animal closest to humans because they're always loyal, caring, and gentle, and they just love us unconditionally. But in the "what the dog doing" sentence, the man is also very caring and gentle. The man who is speaking knows exactly that if the dog was able to communicate with language, then the dog would be just as respectful and as caring as the guy who is talking right now. This man asking what his dog is doing is so much more than just a sentence. It's recognizing that yes, humans are smart and they are able to express themselves and they are able to express very complex things, and we are able to articulate our thoughts, and it's still a very big mystery. But it implies that dogs are one of ours too. It's the dog. It's not a dog, it's the dog. And if it were my dog, I would be respecting the dog. Even though the dog can't talk, he will always have a place in my heart. And that's basically what's being said in this message. But in all this mess, there's a great question. Can we really ask what the dog is doing if we're not even sure if it's even conscious of its own existence? If an animal isn't aware that it's alive, can we really say that it's doing things? Or is everything happening just a natural instinct? How would we even define the term doing something? The official definition of the Merriam-Webster dictionary for the word doing is the act of performing or executing. The nuance is, for example, a grasshopper doesn't have consciousness. So when it hops, it doesn't really know what's happening because it's all instinctive. So the question would be, is the grasshopper really doing things? And so what about the dog? You know, it's interesting, there's an entire social movement hinted in the sentence "what the dog doing." It's all hinting at speciesism, which is a term used in philosophy regarding the treatment of individuals of different species. Do animals deserve to be looked down upon just because they don't have our level of conscience? Well, according to people who agree with speciesism, no. Philosopher Carl Cohen stated in his article "The Case for the Use of Animals in Biomedical Research," published in 1986, speciesism is not merely plausible, it is essential for right conduct, because those who will not make the morally relevant distinctions among species are almost certain, in consequence, to misapprehend their true obligations. So this is the exact same message that we can find in the "what the dog doing" video. We should care about the dog just like he cares for us, almost like a care for a sibling or a child. And so it's fair to acknowledge the actions of the dog, and it's fair to ask the question what the dog is doing. The dog's actions are valid, and the dog is indeed doing things. And the guy asking is curious, he wants to know, he wants to understand. And that shows that the man cares about his dog more than some parents will ever care about their own children. So it's a great message about positivity and love. And that's why it's a great meme with a deep message. The sound of this meme is hiding a big secret. What makes the meme funny? What makes the meme memorable? It's the tone of voice that was used by the guy. He didn't use a monotone voice. In fact, his voice was going a little bit like, "What the dog doing?" You know? And so it's music. And so there's hidden music. There's hidden musical notes. And they all have a meaning. So the first part of the sentence, the "what the," that's a low note and it's an E. So I'm gonna play that for you. It's an E. What? Like this. What? What does an E mean musically? E means enjoyment. E means everything. What the dog doing? What the tree doing? It means that the combinations are infinite. And It's so much more than just a sentence. It's beyond human comprehension. Okay, so when the guy says dog, it's a higher note. So it's a G sharp. So the guy goes up to dog, what the dog doing? G sharp basically means that it's incorrect. It's imperfect. G sharp is high. It's higher than a G. It's a G but higher. And it means that according to the guy speaking, the dog is not any other dog. It's placed higher than the other dogs because it's an important dog. And so lastly, we're going back down to an E. When we go back to the E, it's the resolution. It's the end of the question. It's we already know the answer. Like, this is so fucking deep. This is so fucking deep. It's literally a metaphor. Like, the dog is placed higher than the man in this situation. We could take the 3 notes and just draw a line that would connect them, and that would make a perfect triangle. So what does that mean? It's showing us the modern version of the human food chain. This is the pyramid. The human is supposed to be on the top. The other animals are behind or like under the human. So the entire video is actually criticizing this idea of how the world is supposed to be, how human society has put every other animals and plants and everything else under it. And according to the what the dog doing meme, this is something that we should criticize, something that we should think about. There are so many hidden messages in this original video, and even if I spent 3 hours talking about it, I would not even be scratching the surface of this philosophical and artistic gem. I'm gonna play it one more time for you before we move on into the next part of this video.
Hey, let me get a mint. Hey, let me get one too. Hey, let me hold one.
Yeah, you get that right there. What the dog doing?
In the 2007 movie called Into the Wild, directed by Sean Penn, the main character who had decided to leave society realizes at the end of the movie, before he dies, that his life had completely lost its meaning once he had isolated himself. Happiness is only real when shared. It is the experiences, the memories, the great triumphant joy of living to the fullest extent in which real meaning is found. Friendships and relationships in general are what makes us be conscious of who we are. Because if no one is around us, we are nothing. Like, who am I without knowing that someone is looking at me and counting on me and acknowledging my own existence? I think that anyone could just lose their sense of self in a situation where they are completely isolated. So basically what I mean is that your friends or people in general are important for you to exist. But what if your friends are not nice to you? Like, they may not voluntarily be mean to you, but everyone is different. And so at some points you may not understand each other. Your experience with life is not the same as your friends. You have different moods, you have different feelings of each other at different times. So sometimes friends can deceive you. And so that frustration is what happens in the opening shot of this motion picture, when the first man opens a pack of mint. He looks very happy and excited to consume that mint. He bought himself a bag of mint with the money he worked so hard to earn. And the second he opens that bag of mint, his friend is just walking by and he asks, "Can I get a mint?" You know how frustrating that is? So of course all of the friends notice the mint and they all want a mint eventually. And so that's when comes the message of duality. On the one hand, it's my mint and I have the right to keep it for myself. But on the other hand, they're my friends. And if all our decisions are pressured by everyone around us, are we really the ones making our own decisions? At the end of the day, are we individuals or are we just a bunch of ideas that we've gathered from all the people that we've encountered during our life? I think that's a very deep question. Another powerful message from this video is perception. If I say no, my friends are gonna be mad at me. His expectations of me are not gonna be met, and so he's gonna see me as someone who is betraying him. Is my worth determined by what I think of myself, or by what others see from me when I'm only showing my good sides? Benjamin Disraeli was born in 1804 and was a British statesman who once used the term lies, damned lies, and statistics. And I think this idea is reflected in the video because everyone is expressing a desire for the mint, and we can actually see the 3 different levels of lies which are represented by the 3 friends in the video. So one of the friends was going toward the opposite direction, and he decided to stop mid-walk and turn around just to get a mint. So he lied with his human posture. He wanted to look more polite when asking for a mint by using positive body language. And so that's the lie part. Another friend says, "Let me hold one."
Let me hold one.
He's obviously lying because who would want to hold a mint? It looks like it's quite hot in the video too. And the human body temperature of 37 degrees Celsius would just make the mint melt. So no, this guy doesn't want to just hold the mint, he wants to eat it. That's the damned lie part. So how about the statistics part? Well, the first guy was asking for a mint. He wasn't lying in any way, but his move was calculated. He very well knew that he could just take advantage of his friends. So then comes the big betrayal. Once everyone has expressed that they desire mint without asking for the owner's consent or without even letting him think first, the property is stolen, and it's a disaster. It's so sad to watch. He is doomed. He's too kind to speak up or even defend himself. And then, right when all hope seemed lost, something incredible happened. A magnificent creature, right there at the very last second of the last shot. It's the dog.
Yeah, that right there. What the dog doing?
Sorry, I'm very moved. As we've seen previously, the video only used to display negative human emotions. Even though it started with joy at the beginning, with happiness that comes with the desire to consume a mint, it quickly shifted to confusion, betrayal, sadness, and despair. But the arrival of the dog in the video changed everything. A dog can't ask for a mint. That's silly, that's impossible. So because it's such a ridiculous thing to happen, it becomes a pleasant surprise. So the feelings are now happiness, joy, because the dog is so cute. According to veterinarian Dr. Marta Vieira, petting a dog releases serotonin and dopamine, and staring in the eyes of a dog can release oxytocin. And so oxytocin and dopamine are basically neurochemicals that are associated with good emotion and good feelings. So it's safe to say that when the dog appears on the screen, we are back to the positive feelings that we've had at the beginning of the video, except this time the feelings are even more positive than before. So this is so much more than just a video. It represents the roller coaster of human emotions. It goes from high to extremely low and then back to very, very high. Furthermore, the video was released on Vine, which is known for being one of the first platforms to have looping videos. So it's even more metaphorical, it's even beyond the visuals. This is more than just a Vine, it's an experience. It represents hardships in life and how we are able to overcome them, but also how it feels like sometimes we're just stuck in a loop, in an endless loop with very highs and very lows at the same time. But in this depiction of reality, there's a message of hope, which is the following. When someone else is feeling down, you can contribute to their happiness. You can enlighten their day just like the dog enlightens everyone's day with this masterpiece. You have the power to do that as a human being, and as a human being, you can be the dog in someone else's life.